It looks like the tired and poor and huddled masses are going to have to reroute to Canada or Mexico. The new White House immigration policy being proposed will open doors for English-speaking educated folks. And CNN's Jim Acosta really kind of got into it with advisor Stephen Miller. Take a look.
Are we just going to bring in people from Great Britain and Australia?
This is an amazing moment. That you think only people from Great Britain or Australia would speak English is so insulting to millions of hard-working immigrants who do speak English from all over the world.
So, you know, this is somebody who clearly has his own agenda, I think. But, you know, does this policy reflect the values of the country? I mean,
I bet they'll let them in if they speak Russian. Everybody in the cabinet does. Everybody in the White House does.
I was, you know, I took personal offense to it because, as many people know, Spanish is my first language. I learned English when I was 5. And so the suggestion somehow that you have to speak English in order to merit being an American is just shocking to me. But you got to consider the messenger here, because Stephen Miller has quite a background.
I won't consider the messenger.
Well, yeah, but I think what people need to know.
No, you go ahead and do it.
What people need to know about Stephen Miller is he's the architect of the Muslim travel ban, and when he was in high school, he wrote this about his high school experience. When I entered Santa Monica High School, I noticed a number of students lacked basic English skills. There are usually very few, if any, Hispanic students in my honors classes, despite the large number of Hispanic students that attend our school. By providing a crunch now, we are preventing Spanish speakers from standing on their own.
I don't see
so
that.
This is his thing.
But you know what? Even the president doesn't have basic English skills. I mean, when you think about it, he doesn't have... He speaks the way he talks. He doesn't know the difference between, what was it, presidential and precedential,
and
by
his
the way.
wife also, who's an immigrant, doesn't speak perfect English.
But she speaks Russian.
But I also think the idea that we're addressing the legal immigration right now is also, we haven't made movement.
None of this makes any sense.
No, because we haven't made any movement on people entering illegally, and that's something on bipartisan. People agree is a system that just hasn't worked. It's not effective. Everyone has a different solution. So the idea that we're wasting time because they did not make movement on that to correct a system that's legal and working, it's a conversation to have, but I think they're misdirecting resources.
Well, they're not going to have anybody who can do the other jobs either.
I think the reason it's happening is because this is a president who ran on putting America first. And you have a lot of voters coming out and saying, wanting job security of Americans to be protected. Now, what's interesting is you asked if this reflects the values of the country. Democracy Fund, a bipartisan foundation, ran a poll, and it found that 75% of Democrats and 95% of Republicans thought speaking English was important in terms of when you're talking about immigrants.
Absolutely.
Who felt
it doesn't mean that you have to, when you're coming here, that you start.
100%.
You know?
The other thing that I wanted to bring up is that when we talk about Ellis Island oftentimes, and we talk about the immigrants that came over, there was a litmus test that was provided to those people. Immigrants in the early 1900s were examined for physical and mental illness, questioned about their ability to financially support themselves, and challenged on whether they held radical views. A simple puzzle test was given to immigrants to weed out what they called at the time the feeble-minded. So this idea, Stephen Miller is a terrible spokesman for anything. I will agree with you. But the idea that we can't, as the United States of America, want to bring in the best and the brightest, regardless of race or where you come from, shouldn't be something that people are upset about.
Here's the thing. Not everybody speaks English in the world. And there are brilliant people who want to come here whose language, first language, is not. So the idea, and this is, I think, what upset Jim Acosta. This is what upset him. Because basically, you're saying Canadians are welcome. Because they speak English, it's part of their first language.
And
Australians,
they
they don't look like me.
They look like white America.
But, you know, but let's be realistic about what this is. Because we in the last 9-10 months, it has felt like people of color were not welcome here.
Based on his language on other issues.
Based on his language on other issues, and based on his language on these